In the distant past, mothers abandoned their children, and unfortunately this is still the case. As I said before, men have behavior that is close to cruelty, and it is partly the fault of society since it always has intolerant expectations of men, and this sometimes begins in childhood for men. Very often, when a man builds a home with a woman, he reproduces by his behavior this pattern of social intolerance towards his own wife. In this kind of situation, there are two realities that confront and overlap in a brutal way, and often, the woman suffers in silence under the weight of this intolerance coming from her husband and her husband's environment. Some women are confronted with the brutality of society's reality very quickly, and this explains the abandonment of children around the world. I think that societies around the world should support women's motherhood and supervise them in their lives as mothers according to their situations. Now I will briefly talk about the problem of sexually transmitted infections. As we live in a modern era, then there are several types of relationships, and these relationships sometimes turn into tragedy. There are still serious diseases that are transmitted through intimate relations between a man and a woman, and these are problems that cannot be ignored since it affects public health and the lives of young adults. The problem with one-night stands is that each person is a stranger to the other. These are intimate relationships between strangers, and unfortunately these relationships carry very serious health risks. There are men who have ego and self-esteem issues. As a result, these men in question sometimes have poor personal hygiene, and this does not always appear in the appearance of these men immediately, especially in an intimate one-night stand. Once is enough to turn an entire life upside down. Once is enough for catch infections through sexual intercourse. The wisest thing is to know your partner no matter the type of relationship. It is a responsible act. A final word. I find that the current world of beauty is a real disease and limiting complex. It's a bit of the fault of influence of Western beauty that advocates physical perfection to the detriment of women's self-esteem. The conclusion is this. Today, a woman's survival holds by a thread, and it is beauty. Not being perfect is a tragedy in today's society, and the opposite represents the end of the world for all these women. It is a real mental and societal problem. For me, true beauty is above all being yourself and comfortable in your body and your head.